What's going on, everybody? Zach back here with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the NBA restart. So we've got Ask Twitter 2.0, all about NBA, though. And I do actually have an apology to give out before we start the episode, but I'll let the guys introduce themselves. Let me introduce you to the rest of the Clutch Crew.
Oh, what's going on, y'all? Sorry, I thought Connor was up. My bad. What's up, y'all? Eric here, your ranting co-host. Haven't had a rant in a while with not much sports going on. Probably won't be one this episode either, but I'm sure. While I don't want to be upset, I will be looking forward to presenting y'all with some entertainment in the future. But yeah, glad the NBA's back and looking forward to talking about it.
What's going on, guys? I'm Connor, the co-host with the most, and you see I still got my Jeopardy trophy. I defended it last time out, so definitely happy about that. But I am excited, even though I'm not the biggest NBA fan out of the podcasters. I'm definitely excited that some major sports are coming back and not just like golf and motorsports and stuff. So very excited, but I'm a little bit worried because hopefully the MLB's already got a semi-small COVID outbreak, so hopefully that doesn't happen in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. So before, like I said, this is going to be Ask Twitter, all about NBA stuff. Last time we did it, it was mainly about NFL content, but I did say I had an apology to give out, and I'm going to do it now. So either last episode or 2 episodes ago, I remember making a joke about baseball. I was like, yeah, baseball's back, big deal, or something like that. and it was clearly a joke because I was just, making fun of baseball. But no, actually, I've watched 3 out of the 4 Rays games this year. And I gotta say, I mean, it's been pretty lucky with the game's quality that I watch, but I'm actually starting to turn into a baseball fan. I mean, I never thought I'd say it, but with no sports on. I mean, there's NBA scrimmages going on, but I'm gonna start watching the NBA once it actually counts. These MLB games, I mean, I've only watched the Rays because I don't feel like watching for teams I don't support. But I gotta say, man, I mean there was one game with a walk-off win in the 10th inning for the Rays where they came back. They had 2 outs in the 9th inning and they scored like 4 runs to get it to extra innings, and then they won on a walk-off. That was crazy. That was like 2 days ago. And then tonight I was watching their game against the Braves, and they scored 14 runs. They had a team record amount of strikeouts, and they had a inning where they scored 8 runs, which was like the most they've scored in an inning since 2015. So I've been getting lucky with the quality of baseball I've been watching.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so
sometimes it can be very boring. So.
Oh yeah. No, in none of the games I've watched complete from start to finish, but yeah, I gotta say, when you have a team to root for, it makes things a lot more fun, and I'm starting to like the Rays players and stuff. I'm starting to know who the players actually are. So, sorry baseball for doubting you, but with nothing else on, I've become a fan.
Don't worry, you'll forget about it once the NBA comes back.
We'll see. If my teams go out in the NBA, I'll still have a team to root for in the MLB with the Rays. They're doing pretty good. So
hey, well, at least you don't have the burden of a 162 game season.
Yeah, that's another
season.
thing too. Like, these games matter.
Matter. Right. It's not like you're 2-1 and it's like, oh, big deal. We still have 160 games to go.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, really. So that covers the baseball content. I still don't know much about the sport to talk about on the podcast, but thought I'd mention it. Back to the NBA now, where this episode will take place. So we're doing the standard format. Nate's not here, obviously. You would have heard him in the intros. I'll read his polls.
What?
Nate's just been secretly lurking on the call here, and gonna just jump in now.
Kawhi Leonard's gonna show up eventually
too. So let's get things started off with the first poll, guys. This was the one that I came up with, and I said, who would be the dark horse contender to win the East? The four choices I put down were Nuggets, Jazz, Rockets, and Mavericks. And I defined dark horse as the other non-LA teams because most everybody believes the Lakers and Clippers are the two best teams in the West. So everybody else is considered like a dark horse. And Nuggets won the poll with about 43% of the vote. Rockets came in second place with 31%, Mavericks in third with 17, and the Jazz with about 9% in last place. And the poll got 35 votes, which was nice. And I screenshotted a reply. Somebody said Thunder question mark. So I'll ask Eric. We'll talk about
wasn't
that.
Eric.
No, it wasn't Eric. It wasn't Eric. JMac NBA underscore YT was the one who wrote that from Twitter. So when I talk with Eric about this, I'll get his opinion, see if he agrees with that guy that they should have made the list. But for me, I voted Nuggets with this poll, and the Nuggets were the team that won. The Jazz, the Jazz shouldn't have gotten fourth in this poll, though. The Jazz should have gotten second. They haven't lived up to the talent on their team, but they definitely have the capability, I think, to be the second best on this list. And then the Rockets at third, or Rockets should have been third, I think. The thing is, the Rockets, we know what they are. With the Nuggets, who I voted for, we are seeing a Nikola Jokic slim down, just looks so much more athletic than he used to. So that might have a big impact. Bol has been lighting it up in the scrimmages. 7-footer. They actually ran a lineup in the scrimmages with all 7-footers. Jokic was the point guard. It was pretty crazy, but it was actually effective. So I'm curious to see what the Nuggets do in the playoffs. I voted them. I think they would have the best shot. Young and experienced, but they did get some playoff experience last year, I guess. But with that being said, the Mavericks, they're still way too young, I think. Luka and Kristaps, they still need some more time together. Plus, they're going to be coming in as like the 7th seed, which makes it harder for them. So, yeah, I had to vote Nuggets on this. Connor, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely voted Nuggets on this. I mean, it just seems like the logical choice because, I mean, they were, for a while, they were actually in second place in the West until the Clippers started to, like, kind of get their mojo back. So the Nuggets definitely, I have to agree there. And I definitely agree that the Jazz should have been second. Only 8% of the vote seems like a lot of people are sleeping on them. I think it's probably a lot of people that are like, James Harden and Luka Doncic, hype machines and stuff that are voting for the Rockets and Mavs when, they just kind of forget about Utah. So definitely I think the Jazz should have been second on this poll. I would probably argue that I think the Rockets should be last on this poll because the Mavericks are definitely young. I mean, Kristaps and Doncic are both young, but I don't know. There's just something about them that, I think they would do better in a playoff scenario just because, Westbrook and Harden seem to never really perform up to expectation in the playoffs. And also, another thing about the Rockets, too, is that, I mean, obviously right now the Mavericks are the 7th seed and the Rockets are the 6th seed, but the Rockets have a really tough schedule, actually, that they're going to be playing, which I think is probably going to drop them below the Mavericks because they have to play the Mavericks, that's their first game. But then they also have to play the Bucks, the Trailblazers, the Lakers, and the Sixers in their games that they're playing. So they're going to have a tough time, I think, crawling out of the 7th seed because, I mean, obviously, whoever's going to be the 8th seed isn't going to catch up to them because they're 8 games behind.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about that. But they're looking like they're going to have a first-round date with either the Clippers or the Nuggets. So I think that's going to be what's going to take them out first.
Yeah.
So I would actually argue that the Rockets should be last on this poll, but of course, all the Harden and Westbrook fans are going to vote for them. So, they're going to be second, even though I think that's completely undeserved. But I don't know, Eric, what do you think? And also, I guess I'll ask you about the Thunder. What do you think the Thunder, where do you think they should fit?
Yeah, should I have left them off is the question about that.
You could have maybe put them in over the Mavericks or something, but I wasn't upset that they were not on this list. I guess what worries me about the Thunder is they were on such a roll before all of the COVID stuff happened and then the cancellation and everything. But I worry that the time away might hurt them a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be able to have that same fire that they had before the cancellation. Now, if they do, then that'll be great for them. But the problem is that all these other teams that were more fatigued or had injured players, everybody's getting everybody back now. And so I do think that's going to hurt the Thunder, but I'm still optimistic, obviously. Because probably a lot of people forget that at the beginning of the season, they were spending most of the time in like the 11th or 12th spot out there in the Western Conference. And then over a matter of a couple of months, they went on a tear and have moved all the way up to the middle of the pack. So I'm still optimistic for them, but I'm not like J Mac in the comments who seem to be upset that you didn't put the Thunder in the poll. But J Mac, I appreciate you being a Thunder fan. But yeah, I'm fine with it, and I'm pretty much in agreement with you guys. I would have voted. I don't think I saw this poll, but I would have voted for the Nuggets if I did. And I'm going to talk about the Rockets a little bit later, but I'm in agreement with Connor there too.
Gotcha. So my next poll was I went to the Eastern Conference, and I just did the straight up classic who will win the East type of poll, and the four choices were between the Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, and 76ers. Bucks got 63% of the vote, Raptors with 7%, Celtics with 25%, and 76ers with 5% in last place. So this was really a one-sided poll. 2/3 Bucks, and then about a quarter for the Celtics with 57 votes. So I believe out of all the polls, this one had the most votes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Connor, can you turn your mic off real quick? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's better. So I actually, it won't be a surprise to you guys, but I would have voted Celtics on this poll. I really just don't trust the Bucks when it comes to playoff situations because I feel like the Celtics have the defensive capabilities. They have the players to stop Giannis, and the thing is with Giannis, and we've talked about it before, but they're gonna go all out for making him beat them from the 3-point line, and I think he's got the trigger to pull up the threes. I'm not saying he's a bad 3-point shooter or anything, but it's definitely not the strength of his game right now. And another thing that worries me about Giannis is his free throw shooting. It seems to be not very good. Don't know the exact numbers, but from what I've watched, it's not a good free throw shot he has. So I think he's really going to be, tempted with the 3-point shot. And the Celtics, they beat the Bucks in the regular season. They're one of the teams that has. The Bucks have such a good record. And another thing too is the Bucks, I feel like, are going to be really complacent. I think they're a little full of themselves for having the best record in the NBA and everything. I think it can be dangerous to just go out there and assuming you're going to win because you've won like 80% of your games. And I just really think I like the Celtics better as a team. I think they've got more depth than the Bucks do. So if I had to pick right now who I think the Celtics would come out of the East. I've never been a big Bucks fan with their team, and the regular season is great and all the stats you pull up in the regular season is all great, but gotta see it in the playoffs, and I haven't seen it yet with Giannis. Tatum did have a really emerging playoffs his rookie year. A lot of injuries and stuff happened his second year, but I think this is the Celtics' time right now. They've been so close for like the past 5 seasons. LeBron really killed them a lot, but now that LeBron's gone, I think the Celtics have the confidence and ability to come out and win the Eastern Conference. But let's go over to the guy applying to be Giannis's agent, Connor, and hear what he thinks.
I
was wondering where you were going. Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that. Well, obviously, according to what Zach said.
Oh, wait, I gotta get my popcorn ready, guys.
well, we'll probably get. We'll save this debate for later because I've got a poll related to Giannis later, so we can do this later. But I would have, as Zach said, I would obviously have taken the Bucks. I mean, I think it's really going to be the key for them is going to be not so much Giannis, because I don't think Giannis is going to be what brings them down. It's going to be they have to find a reliable number 2 Like, it's got to be Middleton's got to really Middleton is what I'm trying to say here. He needs to step up as like a reliable number 2 because Bledsoe and Brook Lopez aren't going to do that every night. So it's got to be Chris Middleton, considering they just gave him that new contract too. Like, it's got to be Chris Middleton that's got to step up and say, I'm the number 2 guy. Because I remember we talked about this like with the Raptors in the finals last year, like that we weren't sure that they had a true number 2, but it was really like Siakam that really stepped up and was that number 2. So Middleton's now got to do that for the Bucks. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Raptors, mainly because, like, obviously I agree with the 76ers being last because they haven't proven anything so far this season. I know they're going to have everybody healthy, but they really still haven't proven anything. So, but with the Raptors, I mean, other than not having Kawhi Leonard, pretty well everybody on that team is like still mostly the same from the championship winning team last year. I mean, Siakam, Van Vliet, Kyle Lowry, like, obviously we know how we all feel about Kyle Lowry here, but all these guys are the same, and they're all, they were all there, so they have that experience. They're not going to be overwhelmed by the moment because they know what it's like. So I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Toronto Raptors. They were the big surprise this year, and I think they're going to continue that. And that experience is really what's going to carry them. I still don't think they're going to beat the Bucks, but I definitely think they're better than the Celtics. The Celtics are obviously number 3, but I think the Raptors actually I would give more credit to than the Celtics. So I don't know what. I'll turn it over to Eric now. Eric?
Sorry, I had to mute my mic for a second. I forgot to
Okay.
I'm in a agreement with Connor here for the most part, but I definitely, in the sense of the Raptors, they're kind of my sleeper team to possibly take the whole thing. I have been very impressed with them this season. Like Connor said, going into the season, people had such low expectations for the Raptors going into the season after Kawhi left. Everyone was like, oh, cross them out. They're not going to do anything. But, they're sitting up there at number 2 in the East right now. They've had a really good season. They've made great adjustments without him. And kind of like what Zach was talking about in terms of the Celtics possibility of being able to stop Giannis, I think the Raptors can do it too. I mean, if I broke down the film in an earlier episode, I couldn't even tell you what episode that was a long time ago, but I broke down that film on how the Raptors stopped Giannis and how they game planned so perfectly for him. So if I was voting, I mean, I still think the Bucks had the best chance, but I like the Raptors. They're a team I just enjoy watching them, and I will be definitely keeping an eye on them, going into this playoffs here and seeing how they do. I'm really excited for them, and if they get matched up against the Bucks again, that's going to be a great series. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I actually going back to the Raptors though, I gotta disagree with both of you guys. I don't think they're gonna make a splash. I think they're honestly like a better version of the Thunder for the East, where they're kind of overachieving, but Siakam's great and all, but it's just hard for me to think that would be enough to win the East. You know how I feel about Lowry, but Lowry hate
that's
aside,
going to be the key. That's going to be the
playoff Lowry.
That's going to be the key, right?
playoff Lowry is so bad. I really think Kawhi was like so much more valuable for them in last year's playoffs. I mean, because Siakam, I don't even think he was a reliable number 2 because he had off nights in the finals. We were always saying like, oh, it's Van Vliet's night or it's Lowry's night or it's Siakam's night, but he stepped up big this year. But I'm still skeptical of the Raptors in the playoffs without a superstar. So those are my 2 polls, though, guys. We'll move on now to Eric's. Eric, introduce us to your polls.
Okay, so my first one, I didn't word this as great as I should have, looking back on it, but I said which of these high expectation teams has the biggest threat of being eliminated first from the playoffs. And I guess the way I should have worded it would have been like, which of these teams would have had the biggest chance of possibly being eliminated in the first round. And also by high expectation, I meant teams that came into the season with really high expectations, but some of them have maybe underperformed a little bit. So but of course, not all the teams in the choices have. So it's kind of a complicated thing. But so my choices were the 76ers, the Rockets, the Raptors, or the Nuggets. And the 76ers got the most votes with 44%, although I didn't get a ton of votes on this one, but the Rockets had the least amount of votes at 11%, and then the Raptors and Nuggets both had 22%. They were tied. So I definitely am in agreement with it not being the Raptors or Nuggets. I don't think either of them are going to get eliminated really early or anything. But for me, it comes down to more so the 76ers or the Rockets. And while the 76ers got the most votes, I really think it should be the Rockets that should have gotten the most votes. That's who I voted for. And the reason being is kind of like what the guy said earlier. Like Zach said, we know who they are. Russ and James Harden are both known for underwhelming in the playoffs throughout most of their career. And before, I swear, if someone hits up my inbox and tells me about how many triple doubles they get, you're blocked. Okay, triple doubles.
Well, Harden doesn't get them; it's Russ that gets them.
Well,
Harden just gets all the points.
Yeah, I mean, Harden got them. He got them more early, or be like, oh well, he had 45 points and 12 assists, but yeah, it was on like 16 of 60 shooting, and he also had 11
Half
turnovers.
of them were free throws.
And he also had 11 turnovers. Yeah, from like the buck chin flopping and all that crap that he does. Like, I said there wasn't going to be a rant this episode, but this is kind of turning into one. But I don't know. I'm friends with people here that are Rockets fans, and like I'm cool with them. But the way Rockets fans on Twitter are, I can't even deal with them, dude. I just can't.
You can't have a civil conversation with them.
No, I can't. But and then like Connor said too, they have the possibility of falling down to the 7th seed and having to face a team like the Clippers or something in the first round, and which would not be well for them. But I don't really like their chances against any of the teams that are in front of them. Like even if they somehow moved up, the Thunder actually played really well against them in their games in the season. Like if they moved up and got to face a team like the Thunder or something, I don't think they would beat them. I don't think they would beat the Nuggets. I don't think they'd beat the Clippers. And the Jazz are more of a stout defensive team, which is good against players like who are more reckless, like Russ and Harden are. So I don't think the Rockets could beat anybody that's in front of them. So I feel like they have a very strong chance of getting eliminated in the first round. So that's why I picked them there. But Connor, we'll start with you. I know you talked about the Rockets earlier. Like, do you agree with my opinion here, or do you think it could be a different team that gets out first? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty much in agreement that I would have voted the Houston Rockets on this, just because, like we all said earlier, I mean, the fact that, because at least with the 76ers, like they're getting everybody's going to be healthy. Like I know they've underwhelmed, but I mean, when you have your core of like, Simmons, Embiid, Harris, and Horford, when they're all healthy, like the 76ers can be a really good team if they can have all that together. And also the fact that they're probably going to end up drawing somebody like, when they get to the playoffs, since they're kind of hanging around the middle part of the East, they're probably going to draw somebody like, the Heat or the Pacers or somebody like that. I mean, they might draw the Celtics if they can't move up ahead of Indiana, but they're probably going to draw the Heat, which I would trust the 76ers more so against the Heat than I would trust the Rockets against the Clippers. So, and also, like I said, with everybody coming back, and they could possibly move up to the 4th seed and then get somebody like Indiana, or it's basically going to be Indiana or Miami is what I'm saying. It's probably not going to be Boston. So the Rockets for sure, I think, are going to be the one that gets eliminated. I think the Raptors and Nuggets are both pretty safe, especially with the fact that the Raptors, I mean, I think Brooklyn could be dangerous, but I don't think they're going to challenge the Raptors. And also the Nuggets are probably going to draw somebody, like the Rockets or the Mavericks, which I don't see them posing a problem for them either. So I'm definitely in agreement that it would be the Rockets. But what do you think, Zach? Do you think it would be The Rockets or maybe like the Sixers or somebody else?
Yeah, so I voted 76ers on the poll, and that's the team I'm going with because uh, they've just shown a lot of inconsistency throughout the year. And the thing is about the Rockets too is while I don't think they're going to go far or anything, they do have the potential to get real hot shooting wise, and that's scary. And another thing too, I've heard from some players, especially some Magic players, were saying how no fans in the stands um, and everything makes the shooters perception depth perception. Sorry for stumbling that. Their depth perception a lot better. So he said that he anticipates just shooters across the league are going to have a better shooting percentage, which would be beneficial for the Rockets. I don't think the Raptors or Nuggets should win this poll because they're going to draw probably pretty easy matchups. And the thing is the 76ers will probably end up drawing the Heat or the Celtics, I think. And the Celtics, I think, is an automatic loss, but the Heat, I think, really could beat the 76ers. I mean, Jimmy Butler is going to be determined as ever to beat his former team. And I can see the Rockets ending up playing someone like OKC maybe or Utah, something like that. They have a chance. This is really close, but I'm leaning 76ers honestly. So that's my vote.
I gotcha. Yeah, that would have been my second choice, so it wasn't like
Oh yeah, for sure.
reach or anything.
It was definitely between those two teams.
Now, my other one to turn the attention away on who's going to win or get awards, a little bit of a different poll here. I posted, are you worried that the NBA will get canceled again due to coronavirus? So my choices were nope, not worried at all, a little but not too bad, or totally worried. And so a little but not too bad won the poll at 40%. Second place was totally worried at 33%. And then nope, not worried at all got 26%. So for the most part, there definitely is worry amongst the people that voted at least some. And when I voted on the poll, when I made it, I voted a little but not too bad. That was where I initially stood. But then after hearing about some of these players from the Miami Marlins baseball team that got coronavirus and stuff like that, that kind of concerns me a little bit more and moves me more really into the totally worried category. I guess it's just going to depend on how, I don't know if they've figured out some kind of policy on like if a certain amount of people get it, they're going to stop, or if what they're going to do. I know they've got plans in place where players have to go into quarantine if they get it and stuff like that, but it's definitely scary. And of course, with basketball compared to all of these other sports that have come back, there's going to be the most close and physical contact, between these players compared to any other sport that's come back so far. So I feel like the risk of basketball players getting it is a lot higher than some of these players from other sports, but there have been athletes in these other sports that have still been getting it. So it's definitely scary. And to me, it's a big possibility, but obviously I hope it doesn't happen. So Zach, I'll start with you this time. Do you think that the season could get canceled again?
No, I don't. I was totally opposite of you, Eric. I voted nope, not worried at all. Because I was surprised more people didn't vote that because the bubble has been working. I mean, the difference between the NBA and the MLB is the MLB players go out, there's no checks on them. They can go wherever, back to their homes or whatnot. And the thing is the NBA players are all quarantined in the bubble. And once they're there, in the theory of it is that, nobody new comes in with the virus, then there's no way the virus can come about. Kind of like some islands. Hawaii is a case where they're isolated and have done pretty well with the virus overall. But so that's why I'm not worried at all. And the NBA is very strict about the policy. I mean, they still do tests regularly. You see a lot of the coaches and stuff wearing masks. They have been very strict about their guidelines. And anybody coming in automatically has to get like 4 negative tests, and they're still quarantined for like 10 days. So I think the NBA is like overly cautious with their bubble. honestly, it's probably the safest place in Florida.
That's probably the best way to do it. Then I mean,
yeah, I mean it's honestly the resort at Disney is probably the safest place corona free in Florida. So I'm not worried at all about something happening. They've been on top of it. Nobody's really testing positive, so I don't think it'll get canceled. Connor, what about you?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna. Well, it's funny here because I'm gonna split the difference here because Eric was in the totally worried and Zach was in the not worried at all. I voted a little, but not too bad, just mainly because of what Zach said. Like, with the MLB, there's no bubble. Like they can just go wherever they want to. So it was kind of like a foregone conclusion that something was gonna happen. Like I don't think they planned very well. They were just like, oh, we'll just go ahead and do this, and it's going to be fine. But I think that was kind of stupid to do that. So my main thing why I'm still a little bit worried is just because everything to do with this whole COVID-19 has just been so unpredictable that like I just have there's just that chance that something could happen. Like these players got to get food and stuff somehow. So maybe like who knows? Maybe this one person that went out, because the other thing too is that who knows if there's going to be like false negative tests. So who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe this person
yeah.
going out getting groceries or whatever, like somehow gets it and they come back and like they test negative, but then symptoms start to develop, and who knows? Like there's just unpredictability. But definitely what you said, it is a very controlled environment, so the likelihood of that happening is definitely a lot lower than it would be for some other sports. I mean, I think the NHL was very smart to adopt a similar thing, being in Toronto, especially being in Canada with the NHL, where like it seems like people are a little bit more concerned about it than the people in the U.S. So, but yeah, I'm definitely just like a little bit worried, but I'm not too terribly worried about it. I think it'll go on as planned, and I think it's going to be a really good thing for just the country as a whole to finally have the NBA back, and maybe they can set a model for the NFL, because obviously the MLB is setting a model of what not to do, and the NBA is hopefully going to set a model of what to do. Obviously, with the NFL, it's going to be a little bit tougher because you have a lot more people, but like, they can try and adapt parts of it to maybe, make things a little bit better, but who knows? But I'm not as worried as Eric is.
Yeah, Eric seems pretty worried about it. But all right.
Well, the way this year has gone, I mean, gosh, you never know what could happen.
Hey, yeah. Well, hey, at least on the positive side, the vaccine trials are going good. So, we're getting there. Maybe.
Little quick baller on a budget shout out. That reminds me. Then, if you took my advice and bought Pfizer a few weeks ago, you're probably feeling pretty happy about that. So definitely might want to keep looking into that, because if that vaccine works, they are going to skyrocket.
Definitely.
All right, Connor, share us your 2 NBA polls.
Yeah, so we'll go on to mine now. So we'll start with the first one, just the classic. I mean, Zach had the, who's going to win the Eastern Conference, but I went the more generic route because one of us had to have this. So,
yeah,
who will win the NBA title? So I had the Bucks, the Lakers, the Clippers, and I had an other. Zach mentioned that maybe in the future I shouldn't do that, because maybe then I'll get more comments about teams that get left off. I would say if I would have put a fourth team on here, I probably would have put the Raptors, just because I would have put like the top 2 seeds. But not surprising to me, the Lakers got the most votes at 54.2%. I mean, all the LeBron fans out there obviously think the Lakers are going to win. I mean, for good reason, the Lakers definitely have a really good chance. But it's not surprising to me at all that they won this poll. 25% for the Clippers, 12.5% for the Bucks, and then 8.3% for the other. So there were 2 people, like I did the math, there were 2 people that hit other. And I'm just curious as to wonder, I was joking about this with the guys, that maybe one of those people that clicked other was one of those people that said that the Pacers would win the NBA title in my previous poll. So that's not going to happen. I mean, if it wasn't so obvious, I'd say I'd lock it, but I don't feel like that's a challenging enough lock to make. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so I mean, if you have been listening to this podcast from the beginning, you'd know that my opinion would be the Bucks. I mean, I said it from the outstart at the start of the NBA season. I had a Bucks-Lakers final, and I said the Bucks would win. So I'm going to stick to that. I'm not changing course. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the NBA title. And I think Giannis is going to prove a lot of people wrong, and
including me. Then
including Zach,
prove people wrong. Cough, Zach.
Yeah. But which, if you see my other poll on here, we're going to get to that in a second. But if I had to go between the Lakers and Clippers, since the Bucks are going to be who I think, I would actually probably at this point, I'll stick with my prediction that the Lakers are going to go into the finals, but I'm a little more concerned about that now than I was back then. I definitely think the Clippers are a serious threat. They've definitely gotten better as the season's gone on, so I'm not as confident about the Lakers going to the finals as I was, but I am still going to stick to it. But what do you think? I'll start with Zach.
All right, so I'm actually going to change my vote because back before the season stopped, I would have said Clippers. When the NBA bubble Orlando tournament got announced, I would have said Clippers. And this weekend, I would have said Clippers, but now I'm saying Lakers. And it's really because... Wait, what was that?
I just said interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it just... They're obviously the big breaking news with this is the Lou Williams story about, him going to the Gentleman's Club in Atlanta, and then now he's got a 10-day mandatory quarantine before he can come back on the court. And that, I think, is the ultimate... I was actually leaning more Lakers than Clippers. And then that kind of took it over the edge to me for the Lakers because so far what we've seen in this bubble, at least just from my perspective, watching some of the scrimmages between the Lakers and Clippers, the Magic have played both them, so I've seen both Lakers and Clippers. One, the Lakers look so much more like a team just having fun. I mean, you see LeBron and AD just cheering and jumping up and down for these guys who have never played really before, scoring their first points, and Dwight Howard making jokes with everybody. And it just seems like the ultimate team camaraderie is super high. It just seems like the Lakers I think they did get a good break because LeBron really needed a rest, and he's got the rest now. And if there's, LeBron gets a lot of criticism, but if there's one thing he doesn't get criticism for, it's how he prepares himself and with his body and everything like that. He's not having any kind of issues with being unprepared physically for this challenge ahead. And with his age, he got a long rest, which was much needed for him. And so you've got all this good stuff going on for the Lakers, all this positivity, all this, we're a team sort of thing. Like Alex Caruso, he even, a guy who doesn't even play that much for them, he chose not to go to his sister's wedding because it would have been a 10-day quarantine for him if he had left and come back. But he chose team over family there. So the Lakers seem like they're just having a really strong commitment towards each other and really united, whereas the Clippers, with the whole Lou Williams thing, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised he didn't get banned from the coming back. I'm surprised the NBA even let him come back after finding out that he broke the quarantine orders and all that. This and another thing too is it's fracturing the team, and the team was already fractured before that. Zubac had coronavirus. It turns out, I just looked that up, and he's finally just now getting back to the court. Same with Landry Shamet. He's just now getting back to the bubble. I don't know if he had coronavirus or not, but it seems like so many of the Clippers players have either had coronavirus or are late to get into the bubble, or we just don't know what's going on with them. And we saw it in the scrimmage the other day where Kawhi shot, 3 of 16 and 0 of 8, and people are saying it was the worst performance by Kawhi than they'd ever seen. And it's really, I think, a sign of betrayal from Lou Williams because it just seems like the Clippers are falling apart as a team. I think they had a real good thing going before the season stopped, and now with the Lou Williams thing, I mean, he's definitely their third best player in their team. They call him Sweet Lou Williams. What he did was not so sweet, I'll just say that, but I had to throw that in there. The Clippers are just falling way down, in my opinion. I'm not even sure if they'll make it to the Western Conference Finals. I think Denver might beat them now. And I'm more optimistic and more positive about the Lakers. And you know how I feel about the Bucks, so I wasn't going to vote them. I'm saying Lakers Celtics finals throwback style. Lakers win it. That was my prediction. Eric, what about you?
Let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't need to see the Lakers and the Celtics in the finals for the 1800th time. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Hey, at least you're not going to get
man.
Warriors and Cavs.
True.
I'm kind of gonna pull a Connor here and just, stick with my original prediction. Zach brings up a lot of great evidence here, but
my original prediction was the Lakers in the beginning of the season too. So I just
Wasn't
want to throw
Lakers,
that out
Lakers
there.
and Sixers, I think, was your
Yeah,
prediction?
Lakers and Sixers. Obviously, I changed the Sixers thing, but I did pick the Lakers to win it. So
mine was Clippers and Sixers.
Yeah.
So while I've also changed from the 76, I changed from them a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
I was looking like the smart one, not picking the Sixers.
Yeah.
I am going to stick with the Clippers though, because I'm not going to let a scrimmage game affect how I feel about a team. Players have bad preseason games in the NFL all the time, and then people are like, "Oh, this guy's done, and don't draft him in fantasy." And then look what happens. So I'm not going to worry about a off shooting from Kawhi Leonard in a preseason scrimmage game. And it's good that the Lakers players are having fun and goofing off and stuff, because again, it's a scrimmage game, so they don't need to take it seriously. But I am still going to stick with the Clippers. Hopefully they can get over this whole Lou Williams thing and all that stuff. But I still feel like if they can get it together, that I still feel like they are the best team if their chemistry is there. Now, a concern I do have for the Clippers, though, is they did kind of start off the season a little slow, and it took them a little, with Paul George being out at first, and then Kawhi taking rest days. It seemed like they had a hard time getting it going at first. So, but now that everybody's back, hopefully they can use these regular season games that really for them aren't going to matter to kind of get it going again and then be ready to go come playoff time. But I'm definitely not as confident with this pick as I was at the beginning of the season, but kind of like how Connor's sticking with his guns. I've already backed out of one team that I've picked to win the finals, so I'm not going to back out of both. Sticking with the Clippers.
All right. So then we get to the second poll here, and is how will Giannis do in the playoffs? So we had Finals MVP, very good, but no MVP, which got the most votes at 55.6%. Average and poor. Unsurprisingly in my mind, I was pretty sure the very good but no MVP was going to get the most votes, and that Finals MVP was going to get the second most. But since this has been a topic of debate between Zach and I'm going to let Eric share his opinion first, and then Zach and I can get into our stuff.
Good idea.
Let's see. I already know what Connor and Zach, or I can already guarantee I know what their votes are. And not surprisingly, my vote is, well, maybe Zach voted very good but no MVP, but I feel like he probably voted for average. But
actually, he did, because that's you can see that's his vote right there.
Okay, that makes sense.
It gives it away.
Okay, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, shockingly to no one, I am in between the two of them. I do think he will do well. I think he should hopefully by now have learned from his mistakes and previous playoff experiences that he's had, where he's had some not as good performances. So I think he's definitely going to do better. But at the same time, I do agree with Zach that I don't think the Bucks are going to win it all. So, and they're going to have to win it all for him to get Finals MVP. So I don't think he's going to get there, but I also don't necessarily think he's going to do as bad as Zach is going to think that he's going to do. So I voted very good, but no MVP. I looked through my pantry. Unfortunately, I don't have any popcorn, so but I am.
Yeah, fudge rounds at least.
I do. Maybe I'll get that. But yeah, if you're listening right now, do not go anywhere. You are about to be seriously entertained. I guess Connor, since this is your poll, I'm assuming you're going first, so I'll let you take it away here.
All right. Well, yes, obviously, like Eric said, he's going to split the difference. I would say Finals MVP because I think the Bucks are going to win it all. I would definitely, if I didn't think the Bucks were going to win, I would definitely do what Eric would do, like very good but no MVP, just because in my mind, I think I mentioned this earlier. Like, if the Bucks don't have success, it's not going to be Giannis's fault in my mind. Kind of like how in the finals between, or in that series between the Warriors and the Thunder, how like it wasn't Kevin Durant's fault. Like Kevin Durant did all he could, but like it was really Russell Westbrook and the rest of the team that let the Thunder down. I feel like that's going to be what's going to happen with the Bucks if they don't win. It's not going to be Giannis. He's going to still be putting up like 35 points and 12 rebounds or whatever, and it's going to be Middleton and Bledsoe and Lopez that are going to be underperforming. So mainly because the thing is, like how Zach mentioned, that not having the crowd noise is going to make the shooters better. Giannis already has a career high in three-point percentage this year. I feel like that's going to make him better from behind the three-point line. It does concern me if he starts to shoot too many of those. I think he needs to stick with his, tried and true, just getting to the basket. Obviously that's where he's at his best. His mid-range game is actually I think it's very underrated. People don't really talk about that, but he's got a great mid-range game. And also, obviously, the biggest dent on him this season, whereas he's had career highs in pretty much everything else, points, three-point percentage, rebounds, assists, like career highs. He's had a pretty much not quite a career low, but very near a career low in free throw percentage. And I think not having the crowd noise is definitely going to help him a lot with that. And honestly, when these players have been working throughout the offseason, he's had a lot of time to work on his free throw game and make it better, because obviously if anyone knows better than anyone else what his biggest flaw is in free throw shooting, it's Giannis. He knows that that's his biggest flaw. So I feel like he's had a lot of time to work on that and make it better. And again, like I said, if they get brought down, it's going to be because of the other players. It's not going to be Giannis's fault. And I'm so happy, so happy that I'm finally going to get an answer to my Giannis MVP prediction, because I was so salty when the season got stopped, and I was like, man, like, I want to know the outcome of this. Like, am I a genius, or did I fall just short? So I'm ready. I'm so glad that I'm finally going to get an answer to that. But yeah, I think he's going to be Finals MVP, because I don't see anybody else on the Bucks that would be the Finals MVP if it wasn't Giannis. I mean, I don't see anybody taking over a game like he does on that team. I mean, maybe Middleton could maybe do it like once or twice, but it's going to be kind of like Kawhi with the Raptors. Like, there was no question that if the Raptors won the title, it was going to be Kawhi that was the Finals MVP, and I think that's the same way with the Bucks. There's no question that if they win, Giannis is going to be the MVP. So I've said my part for now. I'll let Zach say his part.
Yeah, but before I get into my reasoning, I just want to say, Mr. Antetokounmpo, if you're listening to this, you need to hire this man to be your future agent, because he will debate anybody on any part of your game and defend you. You can be one of those guys that goes on the talk shows and be like Giannis's man to defend
Hey man,
him.
I would love that. That'd be some good money I'd be making.
It would. So Giannis, give my cousin a job here.
I'll move to Milwaukee. I'll do it.
All right, you're gonna have to leave the podcast then.
No.
Okay, all right. Let me get into my reasoning. So I voted average, as you heard earlier, and I'll explain that pretty simple here. When Giannis goes against either the Orlando Magic, Brooklyn Nets, those type of teams, he's going to be very good. Okay. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to say, the Bucks are going to get swept in the first round or anything like that. He's going to do he's going to do what he does and put up those crazy numbers and roll through and probably sweep those teams. So that part is not what I'm disputing about. My part is, when the rubber meets the road and the Bucks are playing either the Raptors or the Celtics or Heat or somebody good, when stuff actually matters and like we're like, okay, now it's really the playoffs. When that starts to happen, I think Giannis is going to get exposed like he did last year against Toronto. And in that Toronto series, he just flat out played average. I would say he played good at some times and poor at other times, and canceled that all out. He played average. So it's really not. And I will actually say this too. I'm actually on the side where he's either going to be average and play like he did last year and get exposed and lose in the conference finals or something. And I don't think if, also, I'm saying, if he plays at a finals MVP level, I think that they win the finals because they have the best record in the NBA. They're like, I don't know what the record is, but I know it's definitely the best. So if he plays at that MVP finals level, there's no chance I think they lose. I think Connor's underestimating Middleton. Um, Middleton, maybe you can sign me as your hype guy, but 50 Middleton's on pace. It's not This is very rare to see in the NBA, but he's about to join the 50 or the 40 50 90 club, which is 40% from 3, 50% from the field and 90% from the free throw line. That's a very exclusive club. I know it's a kind of weird stat, but he really gets I think Chris Middleton gets so much underestimated because everybody sees the dunks by Giannis. If Chris Middleton was on any other team, he would be a number one on most teams, I think. So I don't have any fear about him not showing up. He's gonna do his second Robin sort of thing for Giannis. The rest of the team, they're kind of deep. I think they'll be fine, but the deal is either Giannis is either going to keep them on pace to win the finals like they're supposed to, or he's going to play less than he's playing right now, and that's going to be the reason why they lose the finals. I think it's totally up to Giannis. Either he keeps the pace that he's going, and they'll win Finals MVP, and he'll get that recognition and all that, and I'll have to grudgingly come on and apologize and all that, but and acknowledge my wrongs. Or he's going to have inferior play and he's going to be average. He's going to be good sometimes, poor sometimes. I think it's going to average out to average. I like how I phrase that right there. But yeah, so I think when the rubber meets the road, it's going to be average. I guess if you took the entirety of the playoffs, he'd be very good, even if he lost in the conference finals, because he's going to do his things against the Magic and stuff. They're not going to stop him. But when I'm saying really, when the playoffs really start, when we think about the playoffs, I think it's going to end up being average. So that's my reasoning and explanations for the Giannis situation. Hopefully it got cleared up.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I will say, I do maybe agree with you that I am maybe underestimating like Middleton and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that with Giannis, at least, that I think he's going to learn from his mistakes, because if you're a truly great player, then, because maybe if this had been because obviously we didn't have this podcast during the conference finals last year. We had it during the NBA finals, but not before that. So I probably wouldn't have been this hyped about Giannis last year, just because like I wasn't, too familiar with him, and obviously the Bucks didn't have too much playoff experience. But I think definitely this time around, I think he's hungrier and more motivated to learn from his mistakes because the same thing was happening last year. Like, they were the best team in the NBA, and everybody was expecting them. And obviously the Lakers weren't around, last year, because the Lakers weren't in the playoffs. I mean, they really were like the best team in the NBA last year. So, and I think losing was just a huge disappointment for them. It was like, how did we blow this?
And they had a 2-0 lead also.
Right, and they had a 2-0 lead. It was just like, this was our championship for the taking.
Yeah.
As long as we could get past the Warriors, and we completely blew it. Which, I mean, honestly, they probably, if they had gotten past the Raptors, they probably would have beaten the Warriors, given all the injuries that they had. So they know that, they blew it last year. And I think that just losing like that just motivates people, it just motivates them to do better and learn from their mistakes. So, and honestly, I will say for future, if they don't win it this year, then I don't think they're going to win it. That's actually a pretty big prediction, but I think if they don't win it this year, I don't think they will, because I don't know if this is like Giannis's time to change, and I feel like if he doesn't change now, he's not going to change. So I'll drop that if they don't win this year, they're not gonna win.
All right, I think
Connor, don't say things like that. He might not hire you now.
Yeah, Connor putting his real opinion out there now, not trying to appease the Giannis with that statement for sure. All right, let's get to Nate's final two polls here to wrap this up. I'll start with the first one, go kind of quick on it, because Nate, I think, would do a better job of talking about this topic. But he said, which newly added player will have the biggest impact for their team in the restart? And his choices were Bol, J.R. Smith, and Taco Fall. And he put other comment, only got 9 votes, so can't really take too much into this, but JR did win the poll with 44%. Bol was in third with 33 and 22 for Taco Fall. So pretty even poll split here. And I personally voted Taco Fall, but you could make a case for any of these guys. I would start to maybe make the case more for J.R. Smith because I've changed my pick to the Lakers winning the finals. So that means a lot. The thing is you have to have a guy on a really good team because let's say the Magic added some G League player who was the G League Finals MVP or whatever, just like lighting it up in the G League. Yeah, he's going to have an impact, but they're going to get swept in the first round or they're going to lose a gentleman's sweep in the first round, and he'll be done with the playoffs and just like that. So these are all players on good teams, which is good for Nate to do. But I did vote Taco Fall just because I think he can play the best out of the three. I think if I was looking at the 3 players right now, I would probably say Taco's probably going to end up doing the best. But that was my reasoning for the vote. Connor, what about you?
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you that it'd be Taco Fall just because I don't know how well Bol is going to really transition into playing at this level.
Well,
Just
he
because,
had some crazy good scrimmage games. That's, I think, why Nate put him on the list.
right. But it's just like, once you really get into everything, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure how well he's going to really transition. And the thing about J.R. Smith is that obviously, we talk about having the biggest impact. I think I don't know if he's really going to create a bigger impact for the Lakers than, they already have. Like, he's going to be there and yeah, he'll probably help a little bit, but it's like he's not going to be the reason that like puts them over the top. I think, Taco Fall has the best chance out of the 3 of those to like, that was what really put the Celtics over the top, was like bringing Taco Fall in was like, that was what propelled them. Whereas with the Lakers, I don't think anybody's going to be saying, oh, I don't think they would have won it before, but now they got J.R. Smith. They're going to win it now. So that's why I don't agree with the J.R. Smith. So I'd probably have to agree with Taco Fall on this one. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I feel this. I agree with you guys here. I don't think there's really too much to add here. Again, like with the Bol thing, though, like if he's doing well in scrimmage games, but like I talked about with Kawhi Leonard and what the Lakers were doing earlier, I take zero. I take zero. I don't take the scrimmage game seriously at all. So I'm just like earlier I saw where Luka Doncic. I saw a tweet. They're like, he got a triple-double just messing around. I'm like, okay, but who cares? It doesn't mean anything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no one was guarding him and he scored points. Wow, that's amazing. So I
got rebounds too. Wow.
Yeah, he got uncontested rebounds. Amazing. So I'm not going to take into effect that somebody had an amazing scrimmage game. That means nothing to me. So I don't know if Bol can really do well when it matters, like Connor said. I'll be curious though, because he's an interesting dude, and I mean, unfortunately, J.R. Smith's name's kind of boring, but the other 2 names on the list are really interesting. So
yeah, I know.
So, but I mean, I guess Taco Fall, in my opinion, would probably play the most minutes and could have the most impact. So I would pick him, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. All right. Finally, the last poll topic here for today's episode is which one of these bubble teams will claim the 8th seed in the West? The choices were Grizzlies, Blazers, Pelicans, or other, and the other would be either the Kings, the Spurs, or the Suns. And Pelicans won with 46%, Blazers in second with 31%, Grizzlies in third with 15%. Just 8% for the other. Only got 18 votes, so once again, not a huge sample size here, but no surprise for me. I voted the Blazers.
What?
That's the thing, man. Is
shocker.
This isn't the Blazers team from the regular season. This is the Blazers team fully healthy with 3 quality big men in their lineup now with Collins, Nurkic, and Hassan Whiteside. And like I've said this about Whiteside before, he's great and all, but he gets into foul trouble real quickly. And that was a problem for them is he would get into foul trouble and they'd have nobody else. But now with Collins and Nurkic back, I mean Nurkic is we've seen just a little bit of what Nurkic can do, and he's going to be greatly appreciated in this. We know Dame and CJ already. Carmelo's doing pretty good so far. Nasir Little's getting some more action, some more time. No, Connor likes that.
UNC guy.
um, and so I'm going with the Blazers. Damian Lillard is not going to let this team miss out on the playoffs. I'm just saying that right now. He's going to lead them to the playoffs no matter what. So that's what I got to say. Eric, what about you?
I agree with the Twitterverse here, and I'm going to say the Pelicans. It's not because I disagree with anything that Zach said, but they have a really soft schedule going into the rest of the season. So I feel like they have a great chance to be able to move up and take the 8th spot. I'm sure the NBA would love for Zion to get into the playoffs in his first season. So I don't know. I feel like the Pelicans have a great chance. The Grizzlies are a team that I feel like is kind of overachieved at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the Blazers' chances, but due to the soft nature of the schedule that the Pelicans have, I just something tells me that they're going to get it. But if I was going by preference, I would want the Blazers to get in because I am a big fan of Damian Lillard as well. Even though they're my rival team of the Thunder, I do respect the Blazers and like them. So they would be my choice of who I would want to get in. But I think the Pelicans are going to get it.
Gotcha. And Connor, give us the last thoughts here.
Well, I guess I'm going to make this a record, and 2 times in a row I'm going to agree with Zach. I actually...
Oh, my God. You heard it here first, folks.
But yeah, I'm going to go with the Blazers. One thing I will say that, I said I wasn't going to... It was too easy of a lock to say that the Pacers weren't going to win. I am going to lock that the Grizzlies are not going to be the 8th seed. Like, it may not be, who knows? It could be the Kings, it could be the Spurs, could be the Blazers, Pelicans. It's not going to be the Grizzlies. Even though they're 3.5 games ahead, doesn't matter. It's not going to be the Grizzlies. So, but I definitely think it's going to be the Blazers, just because of what Zach said with the big men and getting Nurkic back. I mean, kind of like how I was talking about that, like, with the Lakers, like, you would never say that getting J.R. Smith would put them over the top. I think getting Nurkic back and getting everybody healthy, but mainly, getting Nurkic back is what's going to put the Blazers over the top. I don't know if the Pelicans outside of Zion Williamson are really going to, if they do have a light schedule, but if they have enough talent to match up to what the Blazers have. And obviously the Pelicans are starting at a disadvantage behind the Blazers because they're one game. Well, they're like one win behind, but they're like, they're virtually tied. But
and Zion's left the bubble and quarantine and all that, so he hasn't been with the team much.
Right. So I definitely think it's going to be the Portland Trail Blazers, especially if Melo can also keep up what he's been doing. Then, like Zach said, I think, I agree that Damian Lillard's not going to let this team miss the playoffs, especially when they had all the hype around them coming into the season that they were going to be, a playoff team, and that all the disappointment that they had, like, man, why are we like doing so bad? So I definitely think the Portland Trail Blazers are going to get it. And like I said, not going to be the Grizzlies.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening. And next week, we've got a special episode coming back. So we're going to be doing division episodes now. And we're going to start off with the NFC North. And we've actually got a special guest planned to come on the show for that. It'll be Connor and I interviewing a fan of one of the NFC North teams. He's going to give us our thoughts on that team and the division. Stay tuned for next week and you'll find out. Until then, guys, be clutch.
Bye.
Peace.